Okay, so as you can see, the music is playing. Okay, two score, three. So now if I try to hit body, game over. Hello friends and welcome to YouTube channel Freedom Tech, and in this session what we are going to learn? In this session we are going to create a snake game with the help of opencv, mediapipe, cvzone. Also we are going to add the background music for our game with the help of Python VLC package on Raspbian Buster legacy version. But before we move to our practical, friends, if you learned something from our videos, please consider to subscribe our channel. Okay friends, thank you so much, and let's get started. So friends, as I told you, we are going to create a snake game with the help of opencv, cvzone and mediapipe on Raspbian Buster legacy version. For that, first you need to install opencv, TensorFlow Lite, cvzone, mediapipe on Raspbian Buster legacy. I have already created the video. I will mention the video link. Watch video and install all these basic modules on Raspbian Buster legacy. Then we need here our USB web camera. I have already connect the USB web camera to Raspberry Pi 4. Okay. Then for today's session, I have create here the repository. Repository name is opencv snake game. Inside that we have the basic script, then food image which is the PNG format, and we have two MP3 files which we are going to use for running as a background music for our game. Okay, so I will mention the link inside the description box. You need to simply open the link inside the browser, then go to the code, copy link, minimize the browser, open terminal, and we are going to clone the repository. So sudo git clone and paste link and just hit enter. It will clone the repository. It will take a little bit more time because inside that we have image, PNG image, and we have two MP3 files. Okay, so friends, we have cloned our repository. Now we need to change the owner. So sudo chown space hyphen capital R, pi is the user, pi is the group, and opencv snake game, hit enter. We have successfully changed the owner for our repository. Now we need here Python VLC package for playing the MP3 files. So sudo pip3 install python-vlc and just hit enter. It will install the Python-VLC package on our Buster. Okay, so I have already installed the package. Requirement is already satisfied. Now we need to open our script. Okay, so programming Tony Python IDE. Then we need to go file, click on open, go to the Pi, opencv snake game, and inside that we have our g.py which is our Python script. If you go here and click on all files, it will show all the files. So food.2png which is our food image, PNG format, and MP3 files. Okay, so g.py, click on OK, and it will open our basic script. So inside that I have already import the modules which we need for today's tutorial. As you can see, I have import start from CV2 to end at VLC, which is our VLC module for running MP3 files. Then detector.hand detector. This is how we use a cvzone for tracking the hands. Okay, if you don't know how to use cvzone, I have already created a video. I will mention the video link. Watch video, then you will get the idea how to use cvzone tracking the hands. Okay, so same things. Then player is equal to first MP3 file means m.mp3, and then player 1 is basically run our second MP3 file which is the m1.mp3 file. Okay, then if you scroll down, this is how we capture the frame. Okay, while loop and hands frame detector finds hands, it will find the hands. We need to pass the frame. Then if hands 1, hands 0 index, then lm list, because inside that hands 1 we have now the type of hands, the center points, the B box, and the lm list. So today's session we need lm list. So lm list is equal to hands 1, and we need to pass lm list. Then xy coordinate is basically lm list, and we need index fingertip. So index fingertip number is 8. Okay, so 80 and 81 is basically xy. Then point index is just a variable, so point index variable is now our x and the y, this x and y. Okay, so if I start the code, as you can see, frame is started and it's tracking my hands. Okay, so this is what our basic code. If I scroll down, and here at the end, as you can see, cv2 wait key, and here I have mentioned when the game is over, we need to press R button from our keyboard, and then it will break our script, and again we need to start our script for new game. Okay, so we will get the idea how it's work. So let's start our code. So first we are going to start with creating the class. So here we need to mention the class. So class is snake game. Okay, so this is what our class is, basically the snake game. Okay, then we need to mention initializing method. So def init, and inside that we need to pass self. Okay, so now what we want here, we want to save our point index, means we want to save our xy, which is our point index now. So we want to save our point index inside the list. So inside initializing method, we need to mention self dot points is equal to empty list. Okay, then we are going to create update method, update. Inside that we need to pass self, and we need to mention current snake head points. So current snake head point is basically our point index, means our x and y coordinates. Okay, so we need to mention here also we need to mention current, let's say current snake head points. Okay, so current snake head points, then cvzone is equal to current snake head points. Okay, current snake head points, then we need to mention self dot points dot append, and we need to mention inside that we need to mention cx and cy. Okay, then we have now self dot points, so we can say print our self dot points over here. That's it. So self current snake head points, then cxcy is now current head snake points, then we need to append our cxcy and it will print the self dot points. So if I save the code, and at the end here we need to mention gameplay. Okay, gameplay, then we need to mention gameplay is equal to our class snake game. There is nothing to mention right now. Okay, so gameplay is snake game, this is what our class, and here where we have our point index, we need to call the gameplay and the update method. Okay, so gameplay and the update method. So gameplay dot update, and inside that we need to pass point index, this one, this point index. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, if all is good, we can see the points. Okay, so camera is started, we have our frame here, and if I show the hand, there is something error. Okay, so what is the error? Snake game object has nothing update. Let me check here. I think we have a spelling mistake. Okay, so update. Okay, so update, we have a spelling mistake. So if I save the code, if I run the code, and we have now frame, and here as you can see inside that shell we have all the points because we print self dot points. It means we successfully save our points inside the lists. Now what we want to do here, we don't want all the points right now. We only want first point as our snake head. Okay, so if I go here and if I mention like this way here -1, then it will print only first point. Okay, so if I save the code, if I start code again, and this is what our frame, if I show hand to the frame, as you can see, now there is no list, we have only first point. Okay, so now we can simply use the first point. Let me first comment the print, because we don't want now print, and here from here we can say like this way, we need to draw the circle on our first point, on our index fingertip. So cv2 dot circle and img, here also we need to mention the img now. Okay, img, and then we need to mention self dot points, and we need to call our first point like this way, as we mentioned as a print here, as you can see, the -1. Okay, so self dot points, -1 means the first point. Then we need to mention a radius, so let's say 10, and then we need to mention color, and then we need to fill the circle, so -1. Okay, so if all good, we can see the red circle on our index fingertip. Okay, so this is what our frame. If I show hand, there is something error. Okay, we need to mention here, I forget to mention, because we add here img, so we need to mention also here our frame. Okay, so frame. Now if I save the code, if I run the code, this is what our frame, and as you can see, the red circle on our index fingertip. So this is what our snake head. Okay, this is what our snake head. So we have now snake head. Now we need to draw the snake body. So we need the points, all the points as our snake body. Okay, so how to do this? Simply what we want to do here, again we need to go up, and here we need to mention, first we need to mention if we have self dot points. So if we have self dot points, then like this way, if we have self dot points, then we can say for I and points in enumerate, and inside that we need to pass self dot points. Okay, like this way, for I points in enumerate, and we need to pass our self dot points list. Then we can say if I is not is equal to 0, okay, then we can draw the line with the points. First start with our first point, which is -1, then we need to mention I, the iterations, and again we need to mention iterations. So like this way. So here if cv2 dot line, inside that we need to pass img, then as I mentioned self dot points, then the iterations means the I, okay, this I here, and -1, then self dot points, again iterations I, and then we need to mention, let's say we can mention, let's mention blue color, and then we need to mention thickness, let's make 10. Okay, 10. Then we need to change here now the circle will become here. Okay, for loop. Okay, so now with the help of all the points we can draw the snake body. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, if all is good, the frame is started. If all is good, as you can see, it's drawing all the points, means we can successfully draw basically snake body. Now problem is what we need to mention here, fixed length as a startup, okay, means we need to mention the allowed length, and if snake ate something, means if snake ate their food, then the body will increase, okay. So first we need to mention the fixed length, okay, and then we need to decrease the points for particular length which we allowed length, okay. So here in self points, first we need all the points lengths, so we need to mention self dot length is equal to empty list, okay. Then we need to mention self dot, we need here current length, okay. Current length is basically the total length of our snake. So current length, right now we don't know, so we are going to mention 0. Then we need to mention this one is current snake head points, and we need previous snake head points, so we need to mention that also here. So self dot previous snake head points, okay. Previous snake head points is x also we don't know right now the x1 and y value, so x0 and y0, okay. So now we have current length, we have previous snake head points, okay. So then as I mentioned, we need to mention the allowed length. We can say this is what our default length for our snake. So self dot allowed length, let's mention 50, okay. You can mention any, you can mention 70 also, you can mention 60. I'm going to mention here 50, okay. So allowed length is right now our 50. Now what we want to do, we have now current length, previous snake head points, allowed length. Now we are going to use all these points inside the update. So here px and py is equal to our self dot previous snake head points. So just copy and mention. Then now just a minute, now after current head snake points, after now we have px and cx, py and cy. So with the help of math, we already mentioned here, as you can see, we import the math. So from math we are going to use a hypot function, then we will get the distance between these points, okay. So simple, we are going to mention dist, okay. Dist is just a variable. Dist is basically math dot hypot, and inside that we need to pass px minus cx and py minus cy, okay. So then we will have the distance between points, okay. So self dot length dot append is now our dist, okay. Then we have now this, so the current length, self dot current length, first we need to increase the length, means we need to add the length, then we can create the condition, okay. Let me show you. So first I have copied the current length, I am going to paste here. So self dot current length is plus is equal to our distance. So we need to mention dist, means suppose if it is 50, then it will add again 50, it will become 100, then it will add again 50, it will become 150, okay. So now here the self current length is more than our allowed length, okay. So now we can create the condition, but first we need to mention here self dot previous points, like this way. So self previous snake head points is now cx and cy, okay, and then we need to mention the self points right over here, okay. So now we have current length and we have allowed length. So with the help of these two lengths we can create the condition. So let's create, if the current length means self dot current length, copy it, just space is greater than allowed length, is greater than allowed length. Here our current length is 100% greater than allowed length, because we adding the distance in our current length. Okay, so here 100% it's more than 50. Okay, so now we need to create the condition. If self dot current length is greater than self dot allowed length, we can mention for I length in enumerate, and inside that we need to pass self dot length. This self dot length is basically list of our all length. Okay, so self dot length, and then we can mention self dot current length is minus is equal to, we need to mention the length. Okay, so this length, and then self dot points, because we also want to reduce our points, also want to reduce our length, points length. Okay, self dot points dot pop method, and we need to pass the I. So I is basically the iterations. Okay, so I, and then self dot points, not points, sorry, because we already mentioned the points. So length dot pop and I. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, and if I show hand to the camera, as you can see, right now we successfully reduced the snake body. So this is what our snake by default body. Okay, there is no all points, it's only drawing the points which we mentioned. Okay, so we have now our snake ready. Now what we want to do, we want to create if the snake hit their own body. Okay, so how to do this? Simply we have all the points. Okay, so we can use here, we need to use here a polyline function. Okay, so first we are going to create here self dot points here, from here cv2 circle. Here we need to mention pts is equal to np dot array, and inside that we need to mention self dot points, and we need all points. Also we only minus first 2 points, we ignore first 2 points. Okay, so we need to mention like this way, it will minus first 2 points. Okay, so like this way, then false, sorry, not false, then we need to mention np dot int 32. Okay, np dot int 32, then we need to reshape. So pts dot reshape and -1, 1 and 2. Okay, then now we can draw the points on our snake with the help of cv2 polyline function. Okay, so cv2 polylines. Okay, cv2 dot polylines, inside that we need to mention first img, then we need to pass the pts, then what else we want to mention the false, then we need to mention the color. So here the snake body is basically blue, so we can mention here green. Okay, then the thickness, let's make it 6. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, this is what our frame. If I show hands to the camera, as you can see, inside that snake body we have the green color polylines, means we have successfully draw the polylines inside our snake body. So now what we want here, if the snake head hit to the body, so how to do this? So for that we need to mention mdist is equal to cv2 dot point polygon test. Okay, polygon test, and inside that we need to pass the pts and cx and cy. Okay, so pts, cx and cy, then true, and that's it. So now if we print the mdist, if all good, then we can see the mdist means the distance. Okay, so if I show hands to the camera, so as you can see inside the shell we have some points, or not points, basically we have mdist. So we can see the numbers, the value. So if I make like this way, so mostly we want to run, let me run again the code. Okay, so if I run code again, because we need to hit the snake head to the snake body. Okay, so if I go like this way, if I hit to the body, okay, let me make like this way. Okay, now it's hitting. Okay, so we have now 0 value here. As you can see, we have the 0 value. So 0 is basically it's hitting the snake body. Okay, so we need to mention condition like this way. Okay, so now we don't want to print mdist, so we need to mention if the mdist is in between less than is equal to mdist minus 1. Okay, then here also we need to mention mdist 1, not like this way, we need to mention is equal to less than 1, like this way. This is what our condition. So now if the condition is match, we can simply print hit. Okay, else, for our knowing purpose, we can mention else, we print no hit. Okay, so if I start the code, invalid syntax. Okay, let me check. Oh, I got it here. It make like this way. Okay, so now if I start code, and we have now our frame, the condition is like this way. So if the condition is match, it can print hit. Okay, so show hand, no hit. Right now there is no hit, so let me try to hit the body. Okay, as you can see, hit, again hit, you can see it's printed hit. Okay, so right now our snake is a small size, it has a small size. So the main thing is what we have successfully create the hit function also. Okay, now we have done the hitting part also. Now what we want to do, we want to create the food point. Okay, because we want to show the food. So for that, here again we need to go up. Here we need to mention, but first what we can do here, first we want to mention if it is hit, we need to mention game over, then we can create the food. Okay, so let's create first game over function. Okay, so after if it is hit, we need to first mention here, you can say we need to create self dot game over is equal to false. Okay, so self dot game over is equal to false. Then when we hit to the body here, we need to mention self. Now we don't want to mention print hit, we can mention here self dot game over, and inside that, sorry, not inside that, we need to mention self dot game over is equal to true. Okay, so when it is hit, we can mention self game over is equal to true, but first it is false. Okay, so now here we want to check at the first where we start our update. Okay, so here we want to mention if self if self dot game over. If self dot game over, so now what we want to do, we want to, if the self dot game over, we want to mention the game over text. Okay, so for that we are going to create here a put text method with the help of cvzone. So cvzone dot put text in rect. Okay, put text in rect, and we need to mention our img, then we need to mention the text. So text is what? Game over. This is what our text, game over. Then we need to mention where we want to put the text. Let's make the points. So 160 and 150, and then we need to mention scale. So scale 3, not 3, we need to mention 7. Okay, or just go with 7. Okay, scale 7. Then thickness is let's say 3, and then offset is equal to, let's say 20. Okay, so if the game is over, we can, if the snake hit to the body, then self dot game over is true, then we can see the game over text on the screen. Okay, hope all is good. If I start the code, just a minute, we want to mention, we forgot to mention here it is our if condition, then else, all these things we are going to do. So we need to mention here else. Okay, so if else, and then we want to change the level. Okay, so now all become like this way. Okay, so all the things are become like this way. This if is come inside. Okay, then now what we are going to do, we are going to also delete this space. Okay, okay, now this if come here, this for go here, if here, then this condition will be go here, then cv2 circle come here, pts, cv2 polylines, mdist. Okay, then this if come here, and the self game dot over here. Okay, then now what we want to do here, one more thing. Okay, so we have done with cvzone. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, if all things are good, if we hit the body, we can see game over. Okay, so let's try. Put text, oh, again there is a typo mistake, text. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, then we have our frame ready, and now as you can see the snake is there. Let try to hit the body. As you can see, we have game over, but as I told you, we need to change the scale. So let's make it 3. Okay, if I save the code, if I start the code, now let's check again. There is a snake. If we hit to the body, we try, as you can see, we have the game over. Now again, if I show, the game is now over. Now we need to press the R from keyboard, and it will break the code. Okay, because we mentioned like this way, we need to press the R, break the code, and then if I start the code, then again our game will be start new way. Okay, so we have done with game over function. Now what we want to do, as I told you, we need to create the food. So now here we are going to mention self dot food, but first we need to mention here food path. So path of our food. okay, path of our food. Then self dot food is equal to cv2 dot im read, cv2 dot im read. Inside that we need to mention path of food, path food. Then cv2 dot im read unchanged, it will basically show the png image a transparent way, okay. Overlay, we can say the overlay, because we are going to use here a cvzone function. For that we need to mention cv2 dot im read unchanged, okay. Then again self dot food, and this time we need to resize our food size, the food image size. So self dot food cv2 dot resize, and inside that we need to pass here self dot food, and then we need to mention the width and the height. So width and height we can say like 60 and 50. I hope it's good. So self dot food cv2 dot resize self dot food 60 50, this is what width and height. Then what else we want? We want to mention self dot width of food and self dot height of food, self dot height of the food, and is equal to, and also the last channel empty, and then self dot food dot shape, not reshape, shape, okay. So self dot food shape will basically generate the width of the food and height of the food, okay. This is the basic thing. Then again what we want here, we want self dot food points. Right now we don't know the points, so the x and y coordinates is 0 0, okay. So save the code first and just scroll down, and here where we pop the snake body, here we need to mention rx ry is equal to our self food points, okay, rx and ry. So here we are going to mention self dot food points, okay. Rx and ry is equal to self dot food points. Now if I scroll down here, and here inside that, now here we need to mention our image path. So our image is basically right now inside the same folder /home/pi opencv snake game. This is what our folder, and our image food2.png is in same folder. So we need to mention simply the image name food. Suppose if you save the image in another folder, so we need to mention the full path of folder and the image name. But right now we have our image inside the same folder, so only we need to mention the image name. So food2.png, this is what our image name, okay. So we have passed the path, and again what else we want to mention here? We want to mention here here also we want to mention img is variable. Img is equal to cvzone dot overlay. We want to overlay the png image, so overlay png. Inside that we need to pass img, because we are going to show our png image on our main image. So image, and then we need to mention what we want to mention here. We want to mention self dot food, okay. So here we want to mention self dot food, okay. Then simply we are going to mention the values right now, okay. So 100, right now we are going to mention the random values, okay. So 100 and 100 and like this, okay. So img self dot food, and where we want to put the food, so 100 100, this is what the points, okay. So if now what we want to do here, we want to mention here, we want to return our img. So first check the level, okay. So here it is, what our else is here, okay. So this is what here will, so here we want to mention the return. Okay, so let me first check again. So now it's good, it's in line. Okay, so here we want to mention the return image and save the code, and here also now we need to mention here frame is equal to, it will return our frame. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, if all is good, we can see the food image on our screen. Okay, so self good. Oh, what I have done here, we need to mention set dot food. I forgot to mention comma. Okay, so if I save the code, if I run the code, if all is good, now we have our frame, and as you can see, we successfully generate the food. We have food here. This is what the pizza. Okay, so of course it hits the body, and we create the function, so it says game over. So I need to press R again. So main thing is what, we successfully show our food.png image on our screen. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to generate the food location randomly. For that we already mentioned the import random module. As you can see, import random module. Okay, so we are going to create here, after self food points, we need to mention what we want to create here. We want to create another method. Okay, so we can create like this way, def, and we can call food location. Okay, and inside that we need to pass a self, food location self, and then we can mention self dot food points, this one, self dot food points, and then self dot food points. Now we need to mention the random points. So random dot rand int, and we need to mention 100, 600, then the y, for y, random dot rand int. Again here we need to mention 100 and 400. That's it, if condition. Okay, so not if condition, sorry, a self food points random rand int 100 to 600 and random rand int 100 to 400. Okay, so now here we need to mention self dot food location, self dot food location. Okay, now we have our location. So after rx ry, we can create we need to create here condition. So how to do this? Simple. So if rx, if this rx, okay, minus self dot our width of food, which we already mentioned. Okay, here as you can see we already mentioned, so we need to call that over here. So if rx minus self dot width of food, okay, width of food divided by 2, okay, is in between our cx and in between rx, also plus self dot width food, okay, self dot width food, and same for the height. So just copy it, copy and paste all the things over here, if condition, and simply we want to change the values. So rx will become ry, self dot width food becomes self height food, here cx will become cy, rx will become ry, and self width food will become self height food. Okay, then if this condition successfully happened, then what we can do, we need to call our method. What is the method? So method name is food location. So self dot, which we create here, let me show you. As you can see, this is the method. So we need to call the method over here, self dot food location, okay, like this way. First let me check the spelling, okay. Food location, yes, it's not food locations, as there is no s, so all is good. Food location, then means if the snake hit in between our food, then we need to increase their allowed length, okay, because right now the allowed length, we basically decrease the length, or we can say we reduce the length of our snake body. But here we create the condition, if snake hits to the food, means if snake's head hits to the food, the center of the food, then we need to again generate randomly the new food location. Also we need to increase the allowed length, so we need to mention self dot allowed length, which we already mentioned if you remember, okay. As you can see, allowed length, so here we need to mention allowed length. And right now, because the snake ate the food, we need to increase the length, so we need to mention like this way, plus is equal to 50. You can mention 30 also, you can mention 40, whatever value you want to mention, it will add the length with this particular value. So right now I am going to mention, let's say 40, okay. You can mention 50 or you can mention 30 also. Now self dot allowed length plus 40. Now here where we mention our food image, here now we need to remove the location, and we need to mention the self with food and self hide food. So how to mention like this way, first we need to mention rx minus self dot width of the food, self of width of the food, and then of course ry minus, oh I forgot to mention, divided by 2, and then ry minus self dot height of food, and again same divided by 2, okay. So if all is good, what we can see, so again start, we ate the food, as you can see our snake body is increasing, we ate the food and we hit the body, so it's game over. Again we need to press the R. So we have successfully draw the food location. If our snake ate the food, the snake body is now increasing. Now what else we want to do? We want to create the score. So again we need to mention here self dot score, by default it is 0, okay. Save it, and if I scroll down, and where we hit to the body, so here our length is increased, and here we need to increase the score. So self dot score plus is equal to 1. Of course it will increase with the 1, okay. Then after here we are going to mention cvzone put text inside the rectangle, means inside the rect, and we need to mention our img variable. Then we need to mention like this way, f and score, and inside that we need to mention self dot score, okay. And then we need to mention the points 70 and 30, okay. Then we need to mention again scale, let's say 3, and what else we want to do? We want to mention thickness is equal to, let's say 3, and the offset, let's say 7, okay. So this is how we can put the score text on our frame, okay. So if I save the code, if I run the code, if all is good, As you can see, the 1, 2 and let's say 3, 4, and if we hit game over. Okay, so we successfully draw the score on our screen. Okay, you can change this value as per your screen width and height. Okay, so it completely depend upon you. Now we have the score. Now main thing is what we need to mention the music, the MP3 file. So how to mention it? Here where we game over, we need to call here our second music. So player 1. So how to call? Like this way. First we need to stop our first player. So sorry, not self, we need to mention like this way, player dot stop. First it will stop the default music, then it will play the game over music, which is our second music file. So player 1 dot play, and else it will play our default music, which is player dot play. Okay, so if I save the code, and I have here my Bluetooth speaker, so I am going to connect the Bluetooth speaker, then you will get the idea. Okay, so here add device, and here it will show my Bluetooth speaker. As you can see, the music play A1 pair. Okay, and again we need to go here, right click, audio outputs, music play 1, connected. So now if we start the code, okay, so as you can see, the music is playing. So now if I try to hit body, game over, music is stopped. Again press R button. If I start the code again, the game will start again. Okay, so this is how with the help of opencv, mediapipe, cvzone you can create the snake game. I hope you will learn something from this video. We will meet our next tutorial. Till then, thank you, take care, and bye bye.